Hello everyone, my name is Rahul Biman, and today I want to chat about my experience creating an independent TV show with zero film experience, as well as losing $40,000 in the process. The name of the TV show is Upside Brown, and it's streaming on Amazon Prime. If you could check it out, I would appreciate that. I will be less in the red. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, I did not go to film school. I had no filmmaking experience. I actually graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in chemical engineering in 2021, and I was working full time as an engineer while pursuing filmmaking as a passion on the side. The idea for Upside Brown came in the summer of 2020, the COVID summer, when my friend Yash and we had this question that perplexed us. Why does no Indian American sitcom exist? Or at least the ones that were out there, we personally did not resonate as much with them. And the question did perplex us, and we're very naive. No film experience, not really knowing how much work it takes to create an independent short film, let alone a TV series. And we're like, yeah, why don't we just make one? Yeah. Anyway, that winter of 2020, we filmed a very bootstrap version of the pilot. I think our budget was under $2,000 for the first episode, which was about 25 minutes. And for those of you who have filmed anything in the narrative space, that's pretty low. The production quality was mid, to say the least, but for us, it was a great learning experience, and we just put it out on YouTube. After that, we used that proof of concept as the main media for our crowdfunding campaign to try to create the full 1 season 9 episode season 1 of Upside Brown. And by God's grace, we were able to raise $11,000. But then that summer of 2021, we went into pre-production and planning the whole production phase in the fall of that year, and realized that we needed about $60,000 to complete production. And this doesn't even count, post-production, marketing, distribution, and all that stuff. And so that whole delta of $60K minus $11K was self-funded and split between Yash, my co-creator, and I. Obviously, that's a lot of money and a risk that we took, and I'll talk a little bit later about why I don't regret that. But that was something we decided to move forward with. And this $60,000 budget was also for as lean of a production schedule that we could have gotten. It was 17 days of filming for over 300 minutes of content, because it was 9 episodes, about 30 to 35 minutes per episode. And so that's what we did. Luckily, I was working full-time as an engineer, as well as Yash, my co-creator, was working full-time, and we both had some money saved over the months or years. And we were able to make that investment. And that takes me back to the opening of the video, comparing and contrasting art versus profitability. And I think, the reason that we were okay with taking this risk or loss, as some people call it, is that we both didn't go to film school. So we actually viewed Upside Brown as our film school. And so the goal was never profitability with season 1 of the show. It was something much more valuable. It was, one, learning, honestly, if filmmaking was honestly something that we enjoyed. 2, it was actually learning the art and process of filmmaking. People spend much more money than we did on this show over a few years of film school. And, in my opinion, I thought we got much, much more bang for our buck, learning how to work with actors, with crew, with how the whole legal aspects of creating a film come through, insurance, distribution, and the whole indie film landscape, and all these kinds of things. They really don't teach you this in film school. And so when we viewed it from this lens, that we're investing this money to have a project on our portfolio and learn how to be a better filmmaker and make mistakes very quickly, I don't view the $40,000 that I personally lost in this project as a failure or a loss. I view it as an investment. And Upside Brown, yeah, if I were to make it today, I'd make it much more differently. I think the production quality would be higher, although I would also make sure we have more than 17 days to film the show. I do think some scenes are edited a little bit too long, meaning I would cut some scenes a little bit. I would edit things a little bit more tighter. There are other changes that I would make if I were to remake the show today. But in all honesty, I don't think I would have had that taste or the grown as a filmmaker if I didn't make those mistakes now. And I've done a couple short films and some other projects since Upside Brown. And anyone who's made anything, you get better over time. I've noticed my first short film versus my second short film, both production quality is much better than Upside Brown, but the stories are very different. One question a lot of people ask us is, why didn't you just take the money you crowdfunded and create a much higher production value version of the pilot and use that to pitch to studios and try to get season 1 greenlit by a studio instead of having to put your own money into it? And there was 2 reasons to it. One was I just find it hard to believe that a studio or a producer would give an opportunity to 2 Indian dudes who have no filmmaking experience to create a TV show. I just found that the odds of that happening were very, very low, to say the least. And maybe I'm a control freak, but I wanted to have the future of what I'm doing, at least in the beginning, in my hands. And I've met with a lot of filmmakers across the US who have great scripts, and they're pitching it around, and it's been years and years. And at the end of the day, they haven't really created anything. And I just knew that that wasn't the life I really wanted to have, that in 2-3 years from now that I hadn't created anything, but I've had some great pitch decks and concepts of ideas shipped around. I just knew that's not what I wanted to be. I wanted to at least have one project under my belt and then learn, like, maybe this wasn't for me, or maybe this really was for me, and then move on to the next thing. The second thing was, we looked at it like, perhaps this is the first time and the only time in your life you'll be able to create a TV show from start to finish and have it be 100% truly your creative vision. Because later on, if you're able to pitch a show, it gets picked up, at the end of the day, you're going to be working with a lot of other producers, executives, and things along those lines. And your vision will change, certainly. So kind of viewed it as a once in a lifetime opportunity to create an independent TV show from start to finish, however you want it. And for those of you who aspire to tell stories and not have to wait for others to have permission to do so, perhaps one day you'll be able to create your own piece of art and also have financial profitability. Just couldn't be me, at least yet.